All right. Hello and welcome back to the Fit40 Podcast, where we simplify exercise and nutrition for busy parents 40 plus so they can improve their health and feel amazing. I'm your host, Brian Fitzsimmons, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach for people over 40 since 2015. And today we have another awesome topic on deck. We're going to be talking about how to build muscle after the age of 40. All right. Now, I did a episode similar to this a few months back, and I'm like, you know what? I could do it better. I can give more concrete advice and make it a little bit more smooth so you guys get a better listening experience and you could take better action going forward and get all the answers you need. And if this is your first time catching this episode, you're in for a treat because this is one of my favorite topics to talk on and it's going to be a really, really good one. All right. So before we do that, make sure if you are new here, go ahead and hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening so that way you don't miss another episode. And even though it says subscribe, doesn't cost you a cent. All right. It's totally free. Everything I put out that is knowledge is totally free. All I charge for is accountability. All right. So enough of that. Let's get on with the show. What do you have to do to build muscle after 40? So let's start off with why. Like, why do we want to build muscle in the first place? What's the big deal about it? Well, as many people know, it's getting a lot of hype and well-deserved hype because muscle's awesome. Okay. Not just for looks, but it helps you keep your results long term. So if you have a goal of burning body fat, for example, it helps you keep the body fat off easier. If you want to tone up your body, it helps you keep that toned look longer. Okay, all these things that many people are trying to achieve, it helps support that. And if you have athletic goals or performance goals, like if you're a marathoner or you play rec sports as an adult and you do active things, muscle helps make sure that you're more durable for those things so you can keep playing, keep doing your thing and not have to be injured as frequently, hopefully, assuming you don't play a contact sport, in which case, kind of a crapshoot. But anyway, along with that, even if you're not playing sports or doing all that stuff, it helps you have more energy. When you have more muscle, your body just feels better overall. It feels healthier overall. It also protects your joints, not just for those athletic endeavors, but also let's say you have a bum knee or a shoulder or something like that. Sometimes it could be in pain due to a muscular imbalance. You see this a lot with the shoulders. A lot of people have shoulder stuff going on, and then all of a sudden they build some muscle behind their shoulder, in their upper back, in their lats, and all of a sudden their shoulder feels better, or their knees. They build some calves, quads, or hamstring strength, and boom, all of a sudden their knee feels like $1,000,000. And maybe they are lined up for a replacement down the road. This could prolong that and allow you to get more out of that replacement because we know the longer you wait, the better it is because as soon as you get a replacement, the clock starts ticking on when you'll need the next one or when they're going to have to shave that bone a little bit higher up and redo the whole thing. Okay, so if that's your goal, that helps a ton when it comes to that. It's also easier to burn fat in the first place. So if your goal is body composition and you want to burn body fat, this helps a ton because it burns up a ton of calories, not just in the moment when you're doing the exercises that build the muscle, but also at rest. When you have more muscle, you just burn more calories than if you don't have muscle because muscle takes a good amount of energy to maintain. So it's pretty awesome in that regard. And it also helps you achieve a toned look at the end of the day. When it comes to toning, that's two things: muscle gain and fat loss. So if you only lose fat and you're just dieting and not doing any muscle building, then you get that like quote unquote skinny fat look or that softer look. But when you have muscle to show off after you burn that body fat, that's where the toned look comes in. And I mean, looks aside, like it makes the whole process of doing the damn thing easier. Like you feel good enough to achieve that result in the first place. So it just helps on so many different fronts. So that being said, how the heck do we do it? Like what needs to happen to get that muscle? Well, number one is mechanical tension. Now, what the heck is that? Well, without going in the physics route and explaining that, the simplest way to explain it is when you are doing weight lifting and hey, stop it. Okay, that is Teddy, my co-pilot. He is misbehaving right now. But back to mechanical tension. So mechanical tension is when you are doing weightlifting, whether you're pressing, squatting, or whatever, and you get to those last reps. And even though you're using the same weight, your hand or your legs are just not moving as fast, even though you're putting in just as much effort, even though you are pushing probably harder than you did on those first couple reps. These last ones are a grind. That is mechanical tension, where it's like everything's slowing down involuntarily. That's the key thing. Okay. A lot of times you might see people talking about slowing the reps down and how it's better for muscle building, but you can't intentionally slow them down. The goal is to put as much effort in as possible and involuntarily slowing down, because that's your body saying, hey, we're getting close to failure. And that's the key that you're going to hear me repeat a lot. We want to flirt with failure, not bad failure where it's like we're going past that point of where your muscles are doing the job and we're engaging like momentum or really cheating the reps, kind of like you see a lot of bodybuilders online doing, and going past failure. What we are talking about is technical failure. When, let's say, your form is like 99% right there and your muscle just doesn't have enough to give. So like, let's say you were doing bicep curls and you didn't sway back, you didn't do anything else but bend and extend your elbow at the point where your bicep just says, I physically can't get that weight up high enough, like I'm stuck midway and you can't go. That's technical failure. All right. So we want to get to that place. And the way that we do that is, number 2, progressive overload. Now, what is progressive overload? It just means we're asking more of your body over time. So doing another repetition, doing 5 more pounds, doing another set, things like that will tell your body, hey, we're asking for more than last time and we need you to get up to speed. And it gets up to speed by developing more muscle and more bone. Now, when you do this, it will get you to mechanical tension, because like, let's say you take it easy in the beginning, which is a really good route for beginners. Like, don't chase failure right in that very first session. Find a weight that feels heavy-ish, where it's like, not like you're doing nothing, but you pick up the weight and you're like, whew, okay, this is definitely heavy. And start with that, even though it might not be something that's your absolute total failure point, and just say, you know what, when I hit this repetition range, I'm going to go up. I like using 10 repetitions. So to put this for example, let's say you're doing a squat with 10 pounds in your hand. You get 10 repetitions. Like I said, you aim for 10. Awesome. Every time you get 10 repetitions, add 5 pounds. And then even though that first week might not be that hard, that second week might still feel kind of doable, but a little harder. Third week, a little harder. Fourth week, it's like, oh, now we're hitting that point where it's like, I am flirting with failure, because it will get you there. Now, you could go faster, slower, however you want, but as long as we're doing more, you will get to that point. It's just, this is more of a sign or more of a message to not fall in love with that one weight that you've always used. You see this a lot in group class settings, or like if you've gone to the gym yourself and you have those weights that you always go for, the 20 pounders, you like tend to be that type of weight in the classroom setting. That's why you see when there's exercise classes, there's so many 15 and 20 pounders, because that's the ones that most people gravitate towards. You need to always use more or do more. All right. And then we've got to make sure that we're doing enough volume on top of that. So what is volume? Basically, the way I'm going to explain volume is the amount of sets per week, the amount of rounds per week. And when it comes to volume, there are studies that suggest you can get away with doing as little as 3 sets per week, as long as they're close to failure. And that could be literally just 1 set in a workout where you go close to failure and do that 3 times a week. That's it. Or if you want to do it in one workout, like let's say you're doing lower body, do like 3 exercises for that specific part of your body, and then just go to failure at that point. So if you're trying to hit legs, for example, you want to hit your quads, do squats, do that 1 set to failure, then do a leg extension for 1 set to failure. And then honestly, I would probably stop there and go back for a day 2. But if you really feel like torturing yourself, then you could do like wall sits or something like that, or like to failure, and just do 1, call it a day, get out of there. But ideally, we do want to split this up between 2 to 4 days of training. So anything in that 3 or more range is good. 20 sets is usually where they're like, okay, this is kind of that breaking point. And most people can't even get to that point for time restrictions, reasons, because a lot of people just don't have the schedule that supports doing 20 sets of exercises per muscle group, not 20 sets overall. No, 20 sets per body part. Okay. Or sorry, per muscle. So that's a lot. Aim for low and then go up as you are more experienced, because in the beginning, when you are a total newbie, you can get a lot of stimulus out of very few sets. So right now, with what I'm telling you right now, one of my favorite ways to start off is doing 3 sets per movement pattern. So push, pull, squat, hinge. Those are the 4 big ones. If you can do 3 sets of those and you do, say, one warm-up set, that middle set is close to failure, and then that third set is let's just get as many as we possibly can, maybe 1 or 2 repetitions shy of failure, and do that 2, 3, maybe even 4 times throughout the week, then you're good. Okay. Without going too crazy on the programming side of things, that should get the job done. And that's why we also want to lean on things like compound movements, where we're talking about movements that involve more than one joint. So easy way to explain it is like when you're squatting, that is a multi-joint movement because your ankles, your knees, your hips are all bend or flexing and extending. But if we were to take an isolation movement like a leg extension, where you're sitting down and you're just straightening out your leg, and it's just your knee bending and straightening, that would be an isolation exercise. If we were to only do this for isolation exercises, you'll be in the gym all day long. It will not be time friendly. So if you are short on time, compound movements are the way to go. Things like push-ups, squats, lat pull downs, RDLs, glute bridges, things like that will be way more bang for your buck, and you'll be able to get an incredible benefit from them. All right. Now, keep this in mind. When you do more volume, like let's say you're like, okay, I want to do more than 3. Maybe we'll go for 10 sets. Because honestly, when we're talking like optimal, 10 to 12 sets is usually per week is usually that area. Okay. When you get to that place, more volume means more stimulus, and more stimulus is not always a good thing, because more stimulus drives more fatigue, which will drive more soreness and more tiredness. Okay. And that's why there needs to be a balance between how much we do in the gyms to the point where it doesn't affect our life outside of the gym. Otherwise, what the hell are we even doing this for? This is a typical thing you see in bodybuilding, CrossFit, and other types of circles where their whole life is in the gym, and then they're exhausted and tired and borderline physically useless outside of the gym. They don't want to help you move. They don't want to play sports because they need to save that for their next session because the gym matters more to them. But if you're not that person, which most people are not, then you got to take that into account and understand that, hey, I want to live a certain lifestyle where I'm able to do things outside of the gym and I still want to make progress. So lower volume probably is the way to go for me. Now, along with that, if you do want to increase volume, just know that better recovery leads to less soreness and less fatigue and allows you to do more volume and get a better stimulus from it because you're actually recovering from what you're putting your body through. So what do we mean when we're talking recovery? Like, what exactly is that? Number 1 is sleep. Okay. Sleep is I don't even know. It's like that golden nugget. It's that beautiful thing that just makes everything so much better. And it's the one thing that a lot of us just don't have enough of, whether that's due to work, family, just we can't fall asleep due to hormonal changes, or a million and one things. There's so many things wrecking our sleep, and it sucks because it can make such a big difference. But if possible, if you can get in that zone of 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep, it could literally change your life, let alone all this muscle building stuff. Like, forget all that. If you just slept more, you would feel like a totally different person. Now, when it comes to muscle building, like that is the key, is like getting enough sleep. And when it comes to working out in general, that does tend to help a lot with sleep, because people that really struggle to fall asleep, all of a sudden they get on a good workout program and then bang, they're able to knock out no problem because they had no reason to be tired before. Yeah, they were mentally tired, but physically they hadn't given their body any reason to feel like it needs to shut down. So it can help a ton just to get in the gym in general. And then when it comes to the quality side of things, because we don't just want to knock ourselves out with like NyQuil or booze or something like that and be like, well, I got my 7 hours, even though I still feel like crap, because there are people like that too. We want to make sure our quality is good. So alcohol around sleep time is a horrible, horrible idea. No amount of alcohol around sleep does you any favors. Even if it's one little one, it can still mess up your sleep. So just something to keep in mind. You also want to make sure that your environment's good, cold, dark, and quiet, kind of like a cave. So if possible, black out everything if you can, or get a sleep mask, make sure the temperature is right. And then if you are able to dull some sounds, try and help with that, or get some white noise. Like I got a fan in my room that has white noise. Very nice. I'm a bit of a sleep diva though, I got to admit. And then next is stress. So we got sleep, now it's stress. And that means all stress, not just the stuff that comes to mind, like your work, your family, social media, stuff like that, but also too much exercise. Okay. If you exercise too much, it can have a rebound negative effect. It will fight you in different ways. It can mess up your hormones. It can reduce your sleep actually if you overtrain, and it will lead to worse results if you do too much. And along with that, sometimes people will be in a place where their nutrition is causing a stressor. When you take in too few calories and you are in that place where your calorie deficit is so severe, your body can produce a stress response. It can feel like that starvation mode, and it will add to this bucket of stress that is going to make it harder to sleep. It's going to make you feel like crap. It's going to mess you up mentally. And when I say mess you up mentally, it's going to mess with things like decision making, like your overall mood management, all these things that you need throughout the day, cognition in general, like being able to do your work tasks, which pays the damn bills. Okay. So this stuff is very important. Along with that, hydration helps a ton too. The easiest way to help with hydration is not to chug a gallon of water or anything like that. Just go by pee color. Okay. The top hydration experts in the world even say, like, don't worry about all these numbers, like literally just focus on your pee color, because that will reflect a number of different values that all impact hydration. So assuming that medications or other things are not messing with pee color, like one of the easy ones is like B vitamins. Like if you supplement with something that has a crap ton of B vitamins, you're going to have like Shrek piss. It's going to be like lime green. And obviously that's going to mess with that. But assuming that's not what's going on and you have a normal color, and you could pretty much assume, hey, the darker it is, the more I need to drink, then go with that. And then a good rule of thumb is for every hour of exercise that you do, add a bottle of water, like one of those 17 or technically 16.9 ounces, like fluid ounces that we see in the US, like the typical Poland Spring bottle. One of those is good. Don't overthink it. And then last but not least, like I alluded to, nutrition. Okay. Number one, making sure your calories are in a good place. So if you are in a calorie deficit, making sure that it's a modest calorie deficit, not starving yourself and then saying, I'll figure it out later. No, screw that. That doesn't work. Let's cut that out in 2026. Okay. Figure out your precise needs. You need a certain amount of calories to perform your best and be able to do all these things without burning out and feeling like crap and worsening your health. Okay. That is usually like around the ballpark of your basal metabolic rate plus a few hundred calories. So you never want to go below your basal metabolic rate. If you want to, just look up BMR calculator on Google and that'll help you out and figure out what that is. You never want to go below that. And then along with that, we want protein. Obviously, muscle, protein, they're like spaghetti and spaghetti and meatballs, or lamb and tuna fish. For those of you that get that reference, I tip my cap to you. Okay. The protein requirement for active people to maximize hypertrophy, also known as muscle building. Okay. The best case scenario would be about 1.1 grams per pound of lean body mass. So if you were to take all your fat off your body, whatever's left, that's your lean body mass. And you could get that through a DEXA scanner. You could get that through an in-body scanner if you have one at your gym, or I like using the Navy method. I know you've probably heard me talk about this on previous podcasts, but if you just go in and type, what is it? TDEE calculator, your total daily energy expenditure calculator on Google, and you pick the one from calculator.net, plug in your neck, waist, hip measurements and your body weight and your age and your height, and it'll tell you, hey, this is your lean body mass roughly. And going by that number more than not is totally cool, because guess what? The goal is not to hit this number precisely every single day, because a percentage of calories are estimated on nutrition labels. So we're not chasing a precise need to hit this target. It's let's get in the ballpark enough so that we see a change. And if you're able to do that, awesome. Along with that, we got carbohydrates. Okay. Carbs are not the devil. They are not the enemy. Sugar is not the enemy. Carbs help a lot when it comes to building muscle. They, one, help speed up recovery because they fill your muscles up, not just with glycogen, but that glycogen binds to water. So it helps saturate the muscles. It helps do its job more efficiently. And that glycogen in there is stored as an energy source. When you lift weights, when you do these hard, heavy things in that like 5 to 20, 30 second mark, that is glycolytic. That is what you use glycogen for. That is the fuel source that you primarily use, along with your creatine phosphate stores, which are like when you hear creatine, monohydrate, like that stuff, the ATP, that's what's used in those short bursts, like those hard, heavy sets or sprints or things like that. So you want all of this fuel to help you out as much as you possibly can. All right. And then there's also micronutrients. So when you take in a lot of micronutrients and get all your vitamins and minerals and you're not deficient in things, your body is more efficient. Your body does its job better and it recovers faster. So you're able to do more and feel better. All right. So that all being said, a couple reminders. Number one, when you build muscle, you will gain weight, and that's okay. Okay. That's the goal. That's how you know you are building muscle. The way I have my clients do it is we keep the waist measurement. So your hips are probably going to grow because your glutes are probably going to grow. Your thighs are probably going to grow, and that's going to increase the waist measurement. The hip measurement. So that's why we measure the waist, because that usually is a good tell of like, hey, we're not gaining body fat, because that area is first on, last off. So if it's first on, then you could assume, hey, if we're taking in too many calories to build or to accumulate body fat, it's probably going to go to the abdomen first. So if we don't see an increase in the waist measurement, but we see weight go up, what do we think that weight is? Muscle. Okay. Most likely. It's probably a lot of fluid too as well, but it's most likely muscle that we're gaining. And if you want to feel even more at ease mentally, like measure your neck too, because those are the two of the three spots that we measure for the Navy method that helps estimate your body fat and your all those numbers I mentioned before. Sorry, long day. But yeah, keep the waist and neck measurements. And if they don't budge, but your weight's moving, you could assume that you are gaining muscle, especially if you're able to increase your performance in the gym, being able to do another repetition or 5 more pounds. Those are all really good signs. And also being able to do the same work, but feeling easier. Those are really, really good signs that you're building muscle. And also, I wanted to cover this in detail. Your dream body, whatever that feeling is, or that like vision is, it probably weighs more than that ideal number in your head. Because I've never, in a decade of doing this, and add on another 10 of me doing it for myself. So a decade of training others plus a decade of training for myself. I can tell you, I've never met a single person that was able to say, yeah, I think I want to get down to this weight and that's where I'm going to look and feel my best. It never, ever matches up, because most people's dream body, that body that they want to do all the things and feel their best, is usually heavier. All right. That dream body that I'm talking about can move through daily life without thinking about it. Okay. You can get out of bed without stiffness, bend, twist, reach things without pain, carry groceries, the kids' stuff and luggage when you're traveling with ease, not thinking, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Okay. That dream body can handle real life without falling apart. Okay? It can survive these busy work weeks, bounce back after stress, and keep the routines when life gets messy. Because when you put on muscle, the act of training is practicing for stress. When you're able to do things like push through heavy weights, you're like, okay, this is like proof that I can do hard things. And then when things outside the gym present themselves, you're like, hey, I've done hard stuff already. This is just one more thing. Okay. It allows you to feel stronger in your clothes, not just smaller. Like you actually feel stronger. It fits tight in the right places, like the butt and the thighs, but it's really loose in the waist, or it feels tighter across the shoulders and the chest, but it's like waving around the midsection. Okay. Jeans like will feel better. Your arms fit a little bit better in the sleeves, and you just don't feel like soft and tired. Okay. And then it also helps support energy all day long, because energy is one of those big things that we overlook so much, but it plays such a gigantic role in our lives. There's like way less of those mid-afternoon crashes. There's not as much like dragging through workouts. You feel like you're powering through workouts, and you have enough stamina to show up for your family after you're done with work, because now you've got all this extra energy and you're able to be like, okay, I crushed work. I crushed my workout. And now I can come home for my kids and be that version of myself I want to be. Okay. And then you say yes more often. That's a big one. Another one that gets really downplayed is you say yes to trips because you're not thinking, oh, I don't want to slow the group down. Or you're saying yes to certain activities because you're not like, oh, I don't know if my knee can handle that. Or, oh, I don't know if I have enough stamina for that. Or you say yes to photos. This is another big one, because there's so many times that people will decline photos because they're like, I'm not really happy with the way I look. And then years and years and years go by, and you look back to those memories and you're like, damn, I really wish I had a picture of that. Or maybe your kids want a picture of seeing mom really happy at that time, or dad really happy at that time, and they just don't have anything for that era, that 20, 30, 40 years. And that can be a big, big deal. And also just saying yes to spontaneous stuff, because there are so many people right now that are going to say no to all these opportunities to go hang out with friends, to go have dinner or have a drink or something, because like, ooh, that doesn't fit in my diet. Ooh, I can't do that. Whereas when you have more muscle, you're like, yeah, I've got a crap load of calories that I can eat today because I've have all this muscle that I need to support. So having a few extra is really not going to mess me up. And on top of that, when you do these things, when you have more muscle, you're able to not have that rebound weight. Like a lot of people don't realize, like when you cut carbs and you diet down and you lose muscle, and then you have that first big meal, all of a sudden you gain 5 pounds. That doesn't happen when you have a lot of muscle, because your muscle acts like a sponge for all that glycogen that we just talked about and all that water. So it's this bank that handles that a whole lot better. So even if you do go out spontaneously, that next morning you're like, yeah, all right, I handled that no problem, instead of feeling like a total balloon, for lack of a better word. And I say that lovingly because I've done that multiple times. And it makes food overall just feel less stressful. Okay. You can eat more without that instant feeling of bloat and fat, and like fat gain, where you freak out on the scale the next day and you don't panic over the fluctuations. And it helps you trust your hunger and fullness again, because you understand that, hey, when I'm in a muscle building phase and I understand what real fullness feels like, not eating past the point of fullness where I feel like stuffed, but when you feel full and satisfied, and hey, this is going to go and fuel the muscles. It's going to fuel my performance. I'm going to feel like $1,000,000, and it becomes a super positive thing. That's an absolute game changer. That is that next level that so many people just don't get to. And I really hope that you listening right now get to experience how incredible that feels, because it's amazing. It really, really is. And if you're hearing all this stuff and you're like, okay, I want this. I want to know what this is. I want to know what this feels like. Then give all this stuff a try. I know it's a lot of things, but just take one thing I said and implement it, and then just stack that over time. But if it sounds pretty overwhelming and you're like, yikes, that is a lot, I don't know even where I want to begin, then that's what coaching is for. Okay. This is a lot. This is my livelihood. This is what I do for a living, trying to help people do this and achieve the results that they want. And that's what a lot of people need, because you've got a million other things on your plate. You've got work, you've got kids, you've got all these stressors that we talked about. Have somebody just tell you, hey, just do this. Don't worry about all that other stuff. I'll worry about that. You just do this. And it could be an absolute game changer and get you to that place. Okay. So if you want to see what that's all about and see if it's right for you, go down in the description in the show notes, wherever you're watching or listening, and click on the discovery call link. you and me hop on for 10 minutes, talk it out, see what you want, see what your goals are, and make sure it's right for you before you have to commit to anything. All right. So definitely take advantage of that. But if this is your first time here and you're like, I'm not ready for all that, no worries. I got a Fit40 starter kit that does help you get to a place where you're implementing a lot of the concepts that I just talked about. It's got 16 follow along video workouts at the moment, but there's going to be more added in the weeks to come. There are PFC nutrition guides to make sure that you get your protein, you get those micronutrients, you get the good carbs in there. There's also recipes, so you don't even have to think about it. You just say, hey, I could use these recipes. And there's also a 7-day reset calendar, which is an incredible tool if you're in a rut right now and you want to break through it. Use that 7-day reset calendar, get yourself back on track, and it helps a ton. All right. So I hope you learned a thing or two. I hope that you take something from this episode and really use it going forward. And if you have a friend or family member that you know can use this, go ahead and send it their way. They will appreciate it. And so will I. So thank you in advance. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time. But until then, go kick some ass. Bye-bye.